Many have resorted into the ABC syndrome, which is to accuse, blame, and condemn. The ABC syndrome has eaten deep into the mindset of Africans, ranging from those at the Tinka Road in Nairobi, Kenya, moving right down to Rwanda in Kigali, and of course when you move to Mogadishu, you still have the blame game. When you go down to Anambra in the Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the accuse, blame, and condemn is still there. And if we are not blaming the West, we're either blaming our leaders and don't take responsibility of our own action. We are only but the reflection of our society, and it is clear in which a revered scientist once made it clear that the world will always be a better place if those who react when they ought to react. I take it again, Albert Einstein once said, the world will always be a better place if those who react when they ought to react. And there is another statement which he made, that he who stays silent when evil is committed is the evil person and not necessarily the one that commits evil. If you stay silent when evil is committed, you are an evil person without necessarily physically taking part. Let us look at what the Africans went through over 50 years behind, and now with 50 years now. What is the difference? Let us zoom in to the East Africa, the infrastructural development left by the colonial masters. How far are those from East Africa, Tanzania, Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, moving right down for those in the DRC Congo, right to Kenya, in Nairobi, Mombasa? What have been the infrastructures left by the colonial West? And also moving down to Nigeria and Central Africa in Cameroon, looking at the infrastructure. What was the state of development? Also, let us look at after independence. What is the fate now? The roads, network, are they advanced? The communication sector, is it advanced? Let us look at the health sector. How advanced is the health sector? Let us also look at the transport sector. How advanced is the transport sector? The backbone of every economy happens to be the agriculture. Let us now also look at agriculture. How advanced are we? I remember in the glorious days, with the books we've read, from the days when Kwame Nkrumah said the independence of Ghana would have been meaningless unless it is linked with the total emancipation for a different African state. And that also takes me to the introduction of apartheid, in which the apartheid leader, the founder of apartheid, who said that Africans, South Africans, if you give them guns, they will kill one another. If you give them money, they will eat it. And that they will resort now to blame game. And that was why he introduced apartheid, which became known as a racial discrimination and racial segregation by the white minority over the black majority in South Africa. And apartheid was heavily fought by the South African people, coupled with Desmond Tutu, who said that it will be sad for us to come and stand in church and preach and sing hallelujah while our men and women are being mistreated on the street and are judged by the content or by their colors and not the content of their character. And that was when he stood up to fight against apartheid. We are now counting 50 years after the regaining independence, and some part reunification, as the case in Cameroon. For 50 years since we regained this independence, our roads are not being constructed by our own engineers. For 50 years, we have had educational system. Our economy is not even being controlled by us. If we have to do our international transaction, we have to depend on the dollar. And worst case scenario in Africa, with just few borders, if you have different codes, you have plus 237 for Cameroon. You move to Nigeria, you have plus 430 something. You move to Kenya, you have different code just within Africa, and you have to depend on visas upon visas upon visas. If you look down into the sector in itself, the economy in itself, it is creeping and crawling. And one thing I want to zoom in is our educational system. The education of our nation and Africa is something that many have been blaming the West, stating that the West only gave us education, that we shall produce people that will work for them. But we claim that we are independent. And I ask a simple question. The decision of you going to your farm, is it determined in Washington? The decision of you getting pipe bomb water, is it being determined in Washington. And there's a slogan across all the African countries that their hands are tied. The hands of our presidents are tied. That we are seeing neo-colonialism. But when it comes to embezzlement of funds, you see the African leaders, when they are sick, they will be flown to America. They will have to take the shelter in Paris. They will have to go and buy in Italy. They will have to go to Lisbon for tourism. They will have to go across Sweden. And they will have to go to Finland. And of course, Switzerland to bank their money. And when it comes now to doing their job, they say their hands are tied. Cameroon is the worst case scenario where most ministers who are giving money to take care of their developmental factor across their ministries and leaders, and sometimes end up saying their hands are tied. And at the end of the day, the government of President Biya will have to pop into it, and that's why most of them are in Kundengi, because they have been charged for misappropriating state funds. And when we look at this situation, one is also tempted to ask the quality of those who are training in our institution. Are we training qualified thieves, where we have people of PhDs and doctorate at the end of their administration, they are sent to retirement at prison for misappropriating of state funds? Should we now blame education, or should we now blame the West? Who now should take this center state? That is why we are discussing on today's topic that 50 years after the independence and reunification in Cameroon, where our focus is, should we still blame the West for the poor development that we have, and also should we blame our education? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. I want to wish you a very happy Sunday to all those of you who are watching us from the different parts of the world, to those watching us on TV, those watching us online on our social media platform, on our Facebook page, and our YouTube platform. I want to say happy Sunday to you, and happy Sunday to all those of you who will be contributing on today's edition of our program. The numbers are on your screen. You can contribute to the number on your screen either by texting us, or you want to ask questions to my guest with whom we shall be discussing. Here in the studio, we have a revered medical doctor, a neurosurgeon, and someone who is well placed as far as the development of Cameroon is concerned. He has been very vocal when it comes to managing resources, and states that the principle of development must be centered on the youth, empowering the youth, and that when you empower the youth and you bring transparency in governance, and you also reduce the cost of governance, the nation will be more developed than it is currently now. And he is the #1 fighter when it comes to against corruption, and believe that we must be firm in what we do. And he is also a promoter of higher education, and that is why he sees that investment in education in the minds of young men and women is building or putting the country at the right trajectory. He is considered as a progressive within the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. He is all the way from Douala, and also an elite of Nonga and Mantung, and he is Dr. Nick Nkem. Dr. Nick Nkem, thanks for joining us, and also happy Sunday to you.
Thank you very much. Happy Sunday to all our guests and listeners. It's a very exciting topic today. I hope that I'll be able to satisfy you with the answers, and in the course of our discussion, I will be using as many examples and illustrations as I possibly can, so that we understand what the issues are.
Very okay, and also we are with Mwambo Stephen from Boya, and also we are with the arrival of engineer Dickson, and why not Nick and who are going to join us. But here in the studio, we'll begin with you, Dr. Nick, because you are our main person for today, whom we shall be channeling our discussion on looking at 50 years after we regain independence. Maybe your opening statement before I ask my question.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's just say before we get lost that if our education is not good enough, We should stop blaming the white man or our colonial masters. We should blame ourselves, because if we keep blaming some other people, we'll never correct the errors that we are into. So let's say it's very clearly, without chewing our words, that we ought to blame ourselves for not being innovative and for not doing the SWOT analysis on what we do. We just exist from day to day, and today is 60 years down the road, and we are still doing the same thing.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We want to also say happy Sunday to Amos Andy watching us at on Facebook. We want to say happy Sunday to you, Felix Hongler. Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday to all those of you watching us on our different social platforms. We want to encourage you to share as much as you can so that many more persons will also follow the program and get educated as far as today's topic is concerned. You can also send us a message based on the topic. Dr. Nick Nkem, yes. I'll start with you. We are looking at 50 years after we regained independence, and many Africans are stating that it would have been better the colonial master stayed and not handed over to our fellow Africans. Do you agree with that statement? And they are saying this based on the reality on the ground.
Well, it's just unfortunate. We have had our independence, so to speak. It's a great thing that we had independence, and to say that you need someone else to come and rule you in your house is actually an insult to your person. So the thing is, we have the power, we have the independence, we have the resources. God has blessed us mightily, but for some odd reason, we are not using our brains. That's the problem. We are not using our creative brains to be able to navigate our problems. And then the few people who happen to get power to make things happen, you know, either they don't understand the issues, they don't understand how issues work, they don't understand what is critical, what is important. So at the end of the day, we are using our resources, our power and our opportunities wrongly, and then putting everybody through a lot of stress. In fact, like someone was saying, most of those European countries, they haven't got any wealth, they haven't got anything except their brains, and they came down to Africa, and they are in Africa milking us to be able to survive, which means Africa is a very rich place. But unfortunately, the people that God put in Africa are not using their brains, and they have not cultivated their talents to be able to do what is necessary to bail us out of this mess. So the problem is with the human being, the human person. The problem is not the Africa. The problem is not what God gave us, because actually we have a very rich continent. Even just look at the earth; it's very fertile. The trees, the grass are green and lush. There's rainfall. The temperatures are great. I mean, go to South. I have somebody who traveled to Saudi Arabia for this
Mecca.
Yeah, to Mecca.
Yes.
It's called
the pilgrim.
For the pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he was telling me what exactly it's like there. The temperatures out there are anything between 45 and 65 degrees centigrade. And they only go out mostly at night, because that's the only time you can go out. And there's nothing green you can see anywhere. Everything that is eaten in that country they have to import it. And life is very, very expensive. And so we will be looking at Saudi Arabia and admiring, but the question is, we were to move all Africans from here to those very difficult nations, would we survive? God has given us everything that we need here, and we cannot survive, and we are complaining. So the problem is with us, and we'll be looking very critically what we need to be able to use our resources properly and help ourselves and develop. Let us not blame anybody. Let us not blame the Chinese. Let us not blame the French, the Americans, the British, or whatever. Let us blame ourselves, and thereafter find out what exactly we must do to get out of the mess we put ourselves into.
Dr. Nick Nkem, there have been that this perception. Why I say many have stated that it would have been better the colonial master stayed, because they are looking at what was achieved at the period of colonialism, and that, okay, when we regained independence, there were celebrations from Yaoundé, from different parts of Cameroon, and from different cities across Africa, that, oh, we have regained our independence. Thank God we shall be able to manage our resources. Thank God we shall be able to restructure our education to meet our needs. But they are saying that, okay, we are counting 50 years. One, our roads are not being constructed by our engineers. Two, our electricity supply is not even being done by us. No. Three, we don't even have control of our economy. Yeah. And even if when we have control of our economy, it's embezzled and mismanaged. Yeah. And so therefore, when they look at all these units of analysis, they say, okay, let's get back to, like the case of Cameroon, let's get back to the days of the German. Look at the road, look where Douala Road. Look at the structures put in place by the Germans. Look at what we have been able to put in place as now. Don't they have a point to that to some extent?
No, the simple thing is that the Germans that worked here, of course, the Germans did more than the French and the English have done. The Germans did a great job. And what you are telling me and telling everyone else is that if the Germans had continued, Cameroon would be something else. It would be a come and see. But the question that we need to ask is, for the short time that they were here and in those early days, why were they able to do the things that they did? Is because number one, they were disciplined. It's about discipline. Number two, they had technology. And number three, they had a very clear vision what they wanted to do. It's very important. If you have no discipline, you're not going to do anything. And discipline, self-discipline and character is one of those things that we don't have. We have no respect for ourselves, we have no respect for each other, we have no respect for the environment, and we have no respect for common good. That's where it begins. When you don't have respect for yourself, when you don't have respect for other people, when you don't have respect for what God has given you, you're going to be you're going to mess up yourself and everybody else. And then when you lack a clear vision and mission as to why you are on this earth, you think that God created you for yourself, for you yourself and your family. When you have that mindset and then you become very greedy and crafty, then it makes a bad situation worse. So it's about our mindsets for starters. And when to that again you add the fact that in our education we don't have technology, then it adds how do you say it, insult to injury. Insult into injury. There's salt into injury. That's right. So you see, it's a combination of factors, and we must know about them and know how things work so that we can begin to address the issues and correct them. And for starters, before I give you the microphone probably to ask the next question, let me situate things again. I'm sure all of you have seen a eucalyptus tree. I grew in Kambe and in Dongamantung. There are lots of eucalyptus trees there. And you know that the eucalyptus tree, you have the trunk with the canopy up there, and buried in the ground, you have the root system. And one particular root that the eucalyptus tree enjoys is called the tap root. That tap root, it goes deep into the ground and anchors the tree. So in our situation, we are going to look at a eucalyptus tree that has a major trunk with its canopy. It has a very deep taproot that's going deep into the ground, and then it has three other roots. I think that they call buttress roots or something. The buttress roots. Those roots are three. Now that's how systems work. A country is carried by four elements. The buttress roots of a country are the politics, the economics, and the development. And the taproot that holds that eucalyptus tree in a country is called education. So when you have a country whose taproot is not good, that tree is not going to go too far. It's going to be going to be pushed down by the wind. It's going to be suffering. It's going to be toast. It's not going to do well. So you can now understand there is a huge problem with the education in Cameroon and other African countries. And we have said that it is that buttress root that makes for good politics. Because when you're talking about politics, you're talking about leadership, you are talking about visions for the nation, visions for systems, and so on. And politics allows you to put in place the rules and regulations that govern certain aspects, which we will call laws or whatever. Like when our president begins to give those slogans and so on, let's do this, that's part of politics. What should we be doing now? What is the vision? And we should have the discipline to follow very closely what we agreed that we are going to do. So politics is about stating what we have to do and what we should not do. And then the part B of it is having the discipline, the character to do what we have to do and not do and to abstain from doing what we ought not to do. So that is it. And then what is economics? Economics is how are you using your resources? And resources means just about everything put together. How are you using your resources to create wealth and earn money? The part B of it is how are you using that money and those resources? Are you using them efficiently, effectively, or are you wasting them? which is in our case, you would say that we are wasting and we are not very good at our economic principles. And you know, like Jarvis said, our economy is in the hands of foreigners, and a foreigner comes to make himself rich. A foreigner does not come to make you rich. The foreigner does not come to develop you. You've got to do it for yourself. And then we're talking about this development, which is the subject of the day. And we said before that when you talk about development, you're looking at two parts of it. It's the development of infrastructure. You know, call it anything. Are you talking about communication? Is it roads? Is it electricity? Is it airplanes that you want to build? Is it car factories? You know, computer factories, internet? What is it? Whatever you mention. Is it seaports? Is it building ships? All of that is development of the physical structures. And when it comes to physical structures, we have very few of them in Cameroon and other African countries. And the road is one of those major things, and we don't have. Water is one of them, we don't have. Electricity is epileptic, we don't have. Internet is no use. So these are the things. Then the part B of development is the most important element in all that I've been trying to mention or say or explain. It's about human capacity development. What are the capacities of your people, your citizens, your youth? What are you training them to be able to do in schools and so on? So when it comes to capacity, we are talking of your ability to understand, to make a diagnosis in a community diagnosis, diagnose a problem in the community, get a clear understanding of the problem, put together a mechanism for solving that problem, and then actually get up and solve the problem. That's what it's all about. So if you have people who cannot do this, then you are messed up big time. And that is where our problem is, and that is the thing that we have to address, and that's where we have failed for 60 years. And if we don't correct that, we are going nowhere. You know, the people of Singapore, they corrected that 60 years ago, and today they are giants. The Chinese have done that, and everyone else has done that except for Africans. Africans are a laughing stock around the world, and a lot of people get mistaken thinking that the other nations are laughing at us because our color is black. It's not because our color is black. They are laughing at us because we are dumb, we are stupid. That's the problem. And we have no skills. That's the reason. So they would laugh at you and I. Why didn't they laugh at Michael Jackson? Why didn't they laugh at this? Yes. So our young man who came home to say hello to us, this Mbappe. Why don't they? Yes, the French people. Why are they adoring Mbappe? You know.
Even the basketballer Nick Nkem was being celebrated at the time of his speech.
So why do they celebrate all these
people? Ghana is being celebrated.
So when you prove your worth, you are celebrated. It has nothing to do with color. So the thing is, if they are laughing at us, it's because God bless us so much with about everything, and we don't know what to do with it, and they come and take it away for free, and then when they take it away for free to their own lands, and then we are running after them through the desert to go and enjoy those things. If our leaders and everybody could do the right things, Africa will be the best place under the sun. So that is the problem.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick. Before we continue with the program, we can also say that seeing the topic in French, many are asking that why is the topic in French? Our producer will have to correct it since we were actually sending messages also on the French audience to know that we had the program. Unfortunately, he had to put it in French, so he will correct that. But let me just take on some messages. This one right says, what Dr. Nguanyam is saying is actually the truth. I'm speaking from Dubai. Cameroon is a Dutch nation. I will not read that insult. I will not lie. And when I see people behind politicians, I cry because they are at the moment to deceive those old mothers and fathers. What a pity. It's coming from an anonymous sender. This other right, he says, happy Sunday to you, and a special greetings to Dr. Nick Nkem. When he's on set like that, I take my pen and paper and sit quietly at my little corner. And this is coming from Andy, writing from Kongsamba. Thank you very much, Andy. This one right, it says, good day, please. We are not yet independent, strictly speaking. This is Davison from Muyuka. Dr. Ningwanya will have to react to that. So we are not yet independent, strictly speaking. This one right, he says, Good morning, Mr. Jarvis and co. I think both parties should be blamed. The colonialists were chiefly concerned with extracting our resources and intentionally and greedily refused to establish manufacturing and tertiary industry. The education they thought was also geared towards memorizing and not producing, not production or invention. The mindset talk and the Africans elite that assume power at independence are simply neo-colonial potential potentate following in the footsteps of the whites with no innovation idea for change. That is what is stifling our development. This is Wanimu B song from Tico. Take note that the word patriotism has eluded the vocabulary of the African political leaders. How then can Africa develop? This other says okay, message is gotten. This one, those who are watching us on Facebook, I will have some few messages on those who are watching us on Facebook reaction. You can also maybe call us if you want to participate. You can give us a call if you have a question to ask doctor. This one say, yeah, truly, what doctor is saying is the truth. This is Kobo Koko on watching us on Facebook, and he says, Mr. Jarvis, I am Collins speaking from Dubai. If Dubai was to give nationality, I will not come to Cameroon. My respect to Dr. Nguyen. He is a very good intellectual and he may be a CPDM, but with a different. As he speaks the truth. And George, for George writing, he says, I always enjoy your program, especially when a great mind like Dr. Nick is around. Happy Sunday to you too. Dennis Nabo watching us on social media. Happy Sunday to all those of you who are watching us on the social platform. Stephen Mwambo was supposed to be here, one of our panelists, just messaged me that he is not going to make it, and we are now also waiting for Nick Anu, who will join us here on this program, and also Engineer Dickson, who is supposed to be here. Dr. Nick, you want to react with some of the messages before I ask my questions?
Yes, let me answer. David from Moyuka was saying something that's very important, and I want to thank all the other people who made their comments. David was saying we are not independent. David is right. You see, let me explain a couple of things. There are these three words that we need to understand very well: independence, interdependence, and dependence. You see, Jarvis, I know you're married and you have a wife, and I know that you and your wife, your wife was pregnant and got a baby, right? And I know that the baby was born on the 1st of January. So on the 1st of January, your baby was born, and then a medical certificate was issued to your baby to say this child was born on this day, and every year you've been celebrating the birthday. That's what happens to most nations, these African nations that got their independence. They got what they call independence, but it's a paper independence. It's a political independence, all right? But remember again, once a child is born, something happens to that child. Okay, the child is an infant, and then the child goes to primary school, secondary school, university, and learns skills, so that and then the child takes from nature. The child is receiving from everyone else. The child can give a smile, wash the floor, and do things like that. But the child is sucking from nature. And when the child is mature by 25 and to 27, when he's also getting married, he starts giving back to nature. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
And every nation...
And assume
responsibility. Of course, you don't assume responsibility when you are 25. You assume responsibility as a baby. You do what you are supposed to do as a baby. Instead, are you getting me? That's why you beat your child. When he shows irresponsibility, yes, you correct irresponsibility because you want that character thing and so on. Okay, so every nation goes through that, and so by the time the child is 25, the child is mature, the child can look after everything. Even if you are a father and you had a compound and a business, even if you died and you have brought up your child well, the business will not die. Am I communicating here? Because you train your child very well. But let's say that most African nations are big babies. They refuse to
Doctor,
grow.
if we go by what you are saying,
yes,
let us count down. Okay, let's assume we had that birth certificate on
Yes.
1st of January.
Yes.
And reunification.
Yes.
Which should be October.
Yes.
1st of October.
Yes.
Now, we have counted, let's say 25 years was the period of struggle.
No, we have counted 50 years and we are still, we don't know how to brush our teeth.
So
That's
we
our
have
problem.
50 years now.
Yes, and cannot brush our teeth.
So should we still blame the
No,
father?
that is the problem.
So if you
That's
have
the
50
problem.
years, so I still go and blame my mother?
You are 50 years and you cannot feed yourself and you are blaming your mother and your father. That is the problem. That's what we are here for. So the problem, so we are supposed to be, so when we are talking about independence, when it refers to states, actually, let's step out a little bit. Independence is of two types. Every nation must have those two types. You have what you call the political independence, which is what you were given at when the nation was given at birth on the 1st of October, 1st of January. Okay,
and reunification.
Whatever, you know, I'm not talking just about Cameroon. It's a concept.
Yes, concept.
When the child was born,
Yes,
the child
yes.
is given. It's a concept. The nation was born. You were all right. Now, there is the other independence. I said when you train your child to become productive and do things and run your company, that is economic independence. And it depends on skills. So when we are saying that our nations have failed, is because when it comes to the economy, they have no economic independence. And when you come to the economy of Cameroon, it's run by foreigners. It's in the hands of foreigners. Are you getting what I'm saying? That is the problem. So if your economy is not in your hands and is run by foreigners, you are still a big baby and you are going nowhere. And stop celebrating that your political independence. We had independence. That's bullshit. Celebrate the day you have economic independence. And when President Paul Biya is saying that we will emerge by 2035, that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying that by 2035, if we do our homework and do what we are supposed to do, we will have economic independence. You are only independent the day that your own children build your own airports, build your own Samsung phones, build your own televisions, build your computers,
control your own roads,
control your own airports, and build your own ships. That is it. Build your houses, provide enough electricity for everybody, internet all over the whole place. So there's a lot for us to go. We still have only 10 years to go to get to that place, and there's just so much for us to catch up on. And then now, so we have understood. So what is interdependence? To understand the word interdependence, we need to look at countries that are at par. You know, when Ngannou is boxing with somebody, the Ngannou is not given a lightweight to box with. Yes. No, that's not.
Yes.
So you must box with your.
It's called the category.
Yes, you must balance that. That's right. You cannot take Ngannou to go and box with me. He'll break my jaws before I even start. So when we are looking at to understand interdependence, we have to look at America and China. We have to look at America and Germany. Are you getting what I'm? We have to look at America and Israel, countries that have equal status. At that time, even though they have their political independence, they depend on each other for something.
Yeah, that's why I have the US-China trade.
Good. So it's called interdependence. You need something from me, I need something from you. So that is, you understand, that's how it goes. So nobody is actually independent. You know, so independence is a relative thing. Then now we now can, once we have defined that, we can now understand the concept of dependence. So when Europe or France or whatever, or America or Germany or China wants to interact with us in Cameroon, it's more of dependence, that we depend on them. But they are sucking us, and when we are dependent, we are like this baby with the mouth on the nipple sucking. So that is the problem. I hope that everybody have understood what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Take on some messages before I come back briefly to you. I've just been joined by Nick Anu, also who is here in the studio with us. Fortunately, we have Nick. Good evening to you guys on board, and happy Sunday to you guys. Looking amazing. As long as we lack love, honesty, and respect among ourselves, we are going nowhere. So we, the Africans, are not honest. Love and respect each other was of all greedy. It is what is killing us in Africa. Edwin writing from Garwabulai. And this other one, right, he says, happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. Dr. Ningwanyam, God bless you for what you are explaining. I think it is quite very educative for the young persons to understand, and wish that our leaders will also become progressive as you are. And this is someone writing from UCAM. Good morning, House of Commons. We should understand that the blame game cannot stop, because even if we have the biggest human resources and good policies but poor implementers, how then will the blame game stop? All effort will just go into the drain. Mukete from Boya. This one, right, he says, Dr. Nick Nkem, I am very glad when I watch you over the screen because you have much to feed us with. I really thank God he didn't allow you to enter the corrupt upper house of this country. I plead that others, especially Anglophone Eli, can copy from you. This is Tamina writing from Limbe. Well, the reason why I'm laughing, doctor, is because he's saying that he's happy that you did not go to the corrupt upper house. But we need voices like this to change the system.
Yeah, even if I were in that upper house or anywhere, nobody's going to corrupt me. It's not going to change me because God made me differently, and I'm here for a mission. And that's why I'm in the CPDM, but I'm different. The light was meant for the darkness, so I'm not scared of any darkness.
Before coming to Anu, let me just stay briefly with you. You raised an issue there, which I want to ask a follow-up question. Yes. You talk about economic independence, and which the head of state, President Biya, garant of national security and #1 statesman, as most CPDM will call him, and promoter of national unity, made a policy or had a policy statement of Vision 2035.
Yes.
And that by Vision 2035, we must have emerged from the economic dependence to economic independence, where we shall be able to make autonomous decisions that will meet the aspiration of the people based on the different sectors. That's why every sector, education has its own to contribute to that quota, the health sector has its own. But my question to you on this economic independence is, doctor, yes, we see budget being defended at the Senate. We see budgets being disbursed. Now, at the end of the day, these budgets are being embezzled. Should we still go and blame the West for not giving us economic independence?
No, we cannot blame the West. We blame ourselves.
And they will say their hands are tied when it comes now to providing these resources. But when it comes to embezzling this money, their hands are not tied, doctor.
We would understand that the concept of hands being tied if they don't steal from the pocket, from the common purse, from the government treasury. If they don't steal from there, we can understand that their hands are tight. But the bottom line is just that we don't care about the common good. We are very greedy and care just about ourselves. And so you see a lot of people who go into politics, in parliament, in upper parliament, whatever, appointed, left, forward, center. They are not. They don't really care about the job that they are supposed to do. All they are interested in seeing how much money they can make for themselves and their families, share the opportunities. Like someone was telling me, you see, most of the contracts in the country, those, to renovate that, to buy this, to do this, those contracts are given to children of big people. So they just come out from university with their friends, and then they create these companies, and they are given these opportunities to do this, do that. So they have these contracts, and they earn a lot of money without doing much. Their parents already have a lot of money, then they have a way of even getting more. So you get the impression that you ask yourself the question, but you went to university with the others, how comes you are doing well, they're not doing well? Nobody is asking those questions. We grumble about it, but it's just about favoritism and this kind of thing. We need to create a system that really works, a system that uses the government purse properly and efficiently, and that there's accountability. If we don't do that, it's not going to work.
Hello? Yes, we are getting you.
Calling from Oya.
Yes, sir.
The topic is very, very, very interesting today.
Yes, sir.
And I think I can make some contributions on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Following that, our country or our continent,
yes, sir,
is highly reliant on subventions, contributions, and aid from the West.
Yes, sir.
It will be very difficult unless our implementators, our policy implementators get into a system where they go into a trade system with the West,
yes, sir,
such that it is a 50-50 game.
50-50 gain with the West and a kind of system like that?
Yes, a 50-50 system, game system with the West on economy means that if any product must be taken out of this country or out of the continent, then that product must be leaving this continent in a finished state.
Yes.
Not semi-finished state
Not
or
raw
in raw
material.
material. Yes. It should be living here in a finished state. That will mean the West will come and plant in the companies to finish this product in our countries. Thereby, it will create employment for the youth, the population of the place, of the country. It will boost our own economy, help in creating roads, and develop our continent.
Okay, sir.
If we don't get into that state where we have to put in this 50-50 gain in economy, then Africa will remain the same way it is. Now, if you go to the world market, Africa does not have a table on the world market. We don't debate prices.
Yes, sir.
We don't talk on how much our cocoa should be sold on the world market. We don't decide on how much African gold and diamond is sold on the world market. The West takes all of those decisions, but all these materials comes from Africa.
Yes, sir.
So then how will Dr. Nick say we cannot blame the West 50 years after independence?
Yes, sir.
I support him when he says they gave us independence on paper, political independence. Even the political independence is on paper. It's not practical, because if you come back to political independence, you see that most of our leaders are being designed from the West.
Okay, sir.
You cannot tell me that all their campaigns.
Maybe Doctor should react on this.
Yeah,
Thank you. Maybe we'll get back to you.
Let me just answer very quickly. Mr. Nick, and just 1 minute, let me answer this so that you take the microphone.
Yes.
You see, brother, thank you very much for the contributions you've made. I still have to say that we have to blame ourselves. If you understand, most problems are multifactorial in their nature. That means when you take a problem and you try to solve it, you see that the causative agents or what is causing the problem, there are many factors that are contributing. And if you also understand what Pareto's rule is, that's the 80-20 rule. Pareto's rule, I agree with you that the West has to be blamed, but when you keep on blaming the West, then it exonerates yourself and you never change and find out what you ought to do to change. Then you begin to wait on the West to correct itself because you use it as a blanket and excuse, and then the West has no interest in changing because you are the one you are the one in the mess. As far as they are concerned, they are gaining. As long as you are stupid, they are gaining. So it is you to wake up from sleep, find out what you are doing that is not right, and correct it to the best of your abilities to tilt the balance. So we are to blame, not the West. The West has has put in a system that is helping them to milk us, and you are waiting for them to change that system. You are a liar. So 80% of the problems are reliant on us. We are the ones causing the problems. Let's first deal with the 80%, then we'll be able to see. Then the 20% would technically just correct themselves. It's very, very important. Then what was the other thing? You were talking about power. Yeah. Power is not something that anybody gives you. Forget it. It does not exist anywhere in the world. Nobody gives the other one power. Power is seized. You take it.
It's not self a la carte.
Yes, it's not. Power is not something that. Power is capacity. Power is potential, and either you have it or you don't have it. And when we go to school and we go to empower ourselves, that's what it is. So you get what it takes to change your environment, to change your system, to change yourself. So your father loves you very much, but your father cannot give the power to create wealth if you don't develop the capacity. So Africans need to be able to do it themselves, take it themselves. And when you are talking about, Europeans coming to set up factories here, why? Ask yourself the question: why? Who's stopping Africans from setting the factories themselves? We have a lot of our young people in the diaspora. Why don't we bring those young people?
Saying that the West has not given us the full power.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. So, like in Cameroon, we are the diaspora in the Cameroonian diaspora is going to get either double nationalities or permanent residence permits. Those are our expatriates. We will bring them and float them in Cameroon, and they will be allowed to open any industry that is legitimate and run it. That is how. So you partner with those people.
Quick one before. Quick one on this.
Yeah.
Is it the West that's stopping the government of Cameroon to allow Cameroonians to open up factories?
No, it's just politics and lack of understanding.
The money given, COVID money that was given, is it the West that asked them to embezzle?
That is the problem. So we should be solving our problems. Thank you very much.
Let me just take this mission and come to you. I know I've been promising to come to you. Maybe a message to react. Good morning, House of Commons. Good morning, Doctor. I love your articulations. Talking about economic independence also means alternation of power, meaning Biafra must have giving power to another person so that his errors can be corrected by another person. One of the reasons why the Asians and Latin American countries succeeded was because of representative democracy. Sticking to power for 40 years will not lead us to any type of emergence. This is coming from Yusumbo Sulemanu in Chang. Yusumbo Sulemanu in Chang. This one say, we'll be taking calls, but not now. Please just give us 10 minutes. This one says, good afternoon, Mr. Jarvis. I am Paul writing from Douala. My salutation to Dr. Nick. He is a man with wisdom and very straight when analyzing his points. He is a role model. My point is Africans had a problem with mindset because not all Africans have been brainwashed. Example, Egypt, Morocco, and even Nigeria have not been brainwashed. And now let me come to you, Nick. What is your position on this topic? The West, education, which should be blamed?
I don't think it's the West. We should be, at 50, we should be blaming the West for our problems. It is not right.
So you tie with Dr. Nick?
Yeah, I tie with him. At 50, those who, when you look at, analyze those who tend to blame the West for our problems, they are the people causing the problem. So they try to hide behind that kind of a mechanism to say it's the West that is causing our problem. Meanwhile, they are actually the real cause of our problems. If you look at the mafia system in Cameroon and many other African countries, there are many that are even stronger than the West. Most of these Western people don't even understand how to penetrate that kind of system that revolves around certain people. And they tend to put a public impression that it is the West that is the cause of our problem. I don't think all the embezzlement of our money was done by the West. It was done by Cameroon. It was not done by the demons from hell. It was done by human beings, Cameroonians, leaders in public office.
Road.
Yes.
That people houses were scattered. But small road was built.
Yeah, so it is actually so much wrong to say that is the West that is the cause of our problem. We are not the only people studying Western education. Some other Asian countries like Singapore, South Korea, they also model their economic system based on the West, and they're doing well. They know how to manage their resources. Our main problem is management and good leadership. That's our main problem we have in Cameroon. We have all the resources. Even if they take the budget of the United States and give us, Cameroonians will see suffer. We will see suffer in the hands of the people that are managing us. They will see embezzle the money. So it is not a problem of even resources. It is a problem of management of resources. If you know that you have this kind of thing at your home, and if you know that this is a budget of your own and you can be able to manage it, and know that this portion is to send your children to school, this portion is to feed your family. If you take the money to send your children to school and feed your family and go and you are drinking in the bar with your friends, your children will starve and your children will not go to school. And so that is the kind of scenario we're facing. So at 50, we should not be blaming the West for our problems. We are the cause of our problems.
Should we blame education?
Yeah, and we should stop this notion. Education, I am in an education fee, and I know that, yeah, education may be a problem, but it is not an outright problem. It is something that is evolving. The problem of education, Western education, just needs orientation. Orientation, and that orientation comes from political will. We don't see so much of political will to for our educational system to change, because educational system is just something that is isolated. It is tied with the economy. If you ask yourself that if you want to produce engineers, if you produce this in jail, where are the industries where they will work to? It goes to the equation of the economy. The government has to put an enabling environment where people can easily create industries and so on and so forth, so that if the education, if in schools you are producing this kind of engineers, the industry should be available to absorb them, so that you should not just train your manpower, and other nations that are capable, or that they have matched their economy up to the needs of those who you have trained, they will actually absorb them, and you must have trained them for nothing. So education is not something that is just isolated. It is a kind of systemic problem that needs to be well think of and well planned. And unfortunately, it is as if God bless us with a lot of natural resources, and we are cursed with the kind of leaders that are managing them. I think that's the main problem we have.
Doctor, yeah. I asked a question before this program started, and I'll ask you again.
Yes.
You are someone who has traveled a lot when it comes to across the world, Africa and Asia and the rest. Doctor, don't our leaders travel?
Our leaders travel, but that question...
Travel, is it that they tie their eyes?
No, it's a pregnant question. Don't they travel? What you are asking is, don't they see? Don't they learn? But the question is, you are saying, but don't they have a vision? Can they also visualize? Can they see? When they go and they're visiting other countries where the lawns are very clean, you know, the toilets are very clean, everybody respects traffic rules, nobody urinates on the streets, and everything is just so clean, beautiful and neat. You are asking, don't they see? You know, I've been asking myself the questions, don't they see? Let me show you. You know why it's very, I don't know where you live, but you know that it's very difficult for you to describe your house to me, and I get to even by day.
Very difficult. Doctor, that's the most difficult. You have to write a paragraph. I have to write a paragraph. Except I share you my Google map, okay, and you have to follow. I think that Google map
in the wrong place. Now this is it. So now you want to send someone to Yaoundé, right? You say, okay, you go to Yaoundé, you get to Obili, you go to Amu Mezam, there's this mama who is roasting fish there, and there's this bar called this one. You know, ask that person in the bar, where am I? You know, that's the way we describe. Yes, you understand what I'm saying? But what does it take for, you know, for our ministers to go out there and do the right thing? Say, this street is called Ngwanyam Street. The other one is called Nicholas Street, and then the other one is Tah Mai Jarvis Street. Are you getting the point? Then everybody agrees that that's the name. That's the other one is Foncha Street, Ahijo Street, Bia Street. I don't know what. Give common names that people know and will return and will retain, and then they should some history behind those names. Now, once you have done that, you take paint. You know, Jarvis, you and I are living on the same street. You have your plot, all right? Your plot is plot number 1. Mine is plot number 2. Nick's own is plot number 3. So all the houses in plot number 1 carry the number 1. Then on this side of the road, we have odd numbers. On the other side of the road, even numbers. You understand? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You see the point? So even if you have 5 houses in your plot, it's plot number 1. Then the first house in that plot is house number 1A, 1B, 1C, and then if house number 1A is an apartment house, it has house number 1A, floor 1, floor 2, and then apartment. Are you getting what I'm saying? With that, I know you don't understand Chinese, but I could write something. You have never been to China.
Yes.
But no, let's say you have never been to Japan.
Yes.
But I could just write. I say, go to Japan. Go to Tokyo Street. I mean, go to the city Tokyo. Go to the Kawasaki Street. Are you getting me? Go to house number 20 on Kawasaki Street and collect the key from this apartment. Then come out, go back to this other street, go to this house, open this door and sleep. You will go.
Yes. Without stress.
So that is why our police cannot help us in the night. You call a police in the night to say thieves are attacking you. You want them to come to your house. They cannot come to the house by day. Then you want them to come by night. Are you seeing the point?
Which area now? Which place is that directing? This, that.
And then you are shouting and directing. The thieves know you have called the police. They come in and kill you. So our problem, we suffer a lot of. I don't know what's wrong with us. You know, the other day, have you been to Bonaberi of recent?
Yes.
You know that the road in Bonaberi is a new road. It's nicely built.
Yes.
True or false?
True.
Good. Let me show you something. Look at the roundabouts. We allow the grass to be growing.
Yes.
It's not kept neat, you know. And then cars have had accidents on those roads, and some stones have fallen out of place. Some signboards have fallen out of place, and so on. We don't care. Now go to carte etage in front of the banks there. You know, the banks Eco banks and so on. There's a lawn there, a parking lot. One mama decided to grow her corn there because it was a bush, and
I saw
you saw it. That's just how primitive we are. We don't know how to look after anything, and you might think the problem is there. Go back to the ministries. Go and check the ministries. They're all very dirty. There are no lawns. There's nothing.
Don't they travel?
There's only one place in Yaoundé that is clean, neat, and beautiful. That way, I love you, Cameroon. That place is nice, and you need to pay 100 francs to go there and take a picture. You see that? So we have
planning to break the place.
So we have a mental problem. We have people who travel. So you appoint someone. He goes into this thing. He just, what is the budget? Okay, I'm going to ask the parliament to give me so much money, or the government. All they need to do is look at areas where they can increase, so they can have more petrol money. Well, I'm going to cut from over here. By the time I finish cutting, I should have myself some billion. That's all that they're interested in. Nobody cares about the common good. Nobody cares about the youths. Nobody cares about common utilities and so on. And that is the problem. It's a problem of greed. I don't know how to. It's just greed from morning till evening. We are given colossal sums of money to do this, build a road, build this, it all disappears. And that is a huge problem. It has to do with character. In the training, we said that when you're training people, give them the skills. Skills and your certificates amounts only to 25% of who you are, but 75% of all our success and what we do depends on our character and self-discipline and our respect. If we don't have it, it doesn't matter what we do, we'll fail.
Doctor, briefly again, now let's look at the education. Those who are charged to control our resources, they are not illiterate. They went to school, to our schools.
Yeah.
They are still the same people being condemned for stealing.
To even mission schools.
To even mission schools. Are our schools training thieves?
Right. Like when we started at the beginning of the show, I told you that I'll be using a lot of illustrations. Okay. So here we are in the house back in the village, and we want to eat some fufu corn or some achu. Are you with me? And then the mama of the house brings us water in a bowl. You know that the best way of washing your hands is to wash your hands under running water. You open,
Yes.
Either you wash it under a tap, or somebody brings a collecting bowl and is pouring the water, and you're washing, so that the dirt goes into the bowl below. But before we got that understanding, we were all washing our hands in the same bowl. You get the point? So we've just come from I don't know where, and we are 20 of us in the house, and the water is brought in a bowl, and everybody washes there. So you see, the bowl keeps going round. It doesn't matter how many times you wash your hands under those circumstances, the hands are not clean. That's what has happened to our education. Now, I'm 68 years old, and I went to the university in 1970. Okay, is it 1970? No, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. In 1977. In 1970, I went to Form 1 secondary school. So 1977, I went to QS. Now, so the people who are currently in government are my classmates in university, so to speak. And then those of them who did administration, except that government gave you some time off, they were long retired. You retire at 55 or something like that. So what I'm saying is, and that's why I can talk very freely, because I'm talking to my generation. It's my generation that is in power, and my generation is messing up big time. Okay? And we were taught, I don't know how we were taught, and it is that my generation again that are the professors and the doctors and the whatever are manning everything, and the ministers. So we got the education, but we didn't understand it very well. It was tweaked. It was not good. But we didn't put in our personal efforts to crank up So you went to university, read history, geography. 3 years afterwards, then 2 years into Enam. After that, you were appointed. You don't care. You don't use internet. You don't do self capacity building or so. You don't see what others are doing. You are just a big man throwing your weight all over. That is all we have been concentrating on doing. And then the professor who is there, you know, when I was in QS, I noticed something about our professors in Cameroon. They don't teach children to understand. They come around and throw their weight, and so that the children know that they are tough. So they would take very simple concepts that they could just explain even in pidgin and people will understand. They would complicate a simple thing, and so the children have to keep trying to imagine what they are saying. So you will go to our universities and feel what? There's no sound system. The children are shouting, the teacher is shouting. At the end of the day, it's a very messed up system. Then the exams are corrupt. And then a few people would buy the exams in one way or the other. So we have a clique of people who would pass the exams and go into the system. So we have this corruption that begins in primary schools and grows and grows and grows. So it becomes a real cancer. At the end, we don't, at this point in time in Cameroon, we do not know how to write our names. That is the problem.
Yes.
We keep washing our hands in the dirty pools.
Hello?
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I was trying to explain something. So we need to break that cycle, which will change our mindsets. We need to change our mindset. We need to change the way we are training our children from now henceforth.
Okay.
We need to bring in new energy. We need to cross-pollinate. We need to make things happen.
Doctor, I am glad you did not go to the upper house, because you would have been hated like Justice Aya. This is the second person writing that. My name is Fai Clement from Yaoundé. In my opinion, in my own point of view, we should not blame the West for life, because after the political independence, it has been more than 50 years ago, and this initial interval is very enough to sit up and train our personnel and train our personnel to stand on our own. Because as we are moving towards this our 2035 emergence, we still see the Chinese and so doing things for us. So we have to sit. If not, we will remain dependent for the West. That is coming from an anonymous sender. Please, when you send us a message, tell us where you are writing us from, who you are. I am Anthony writing. Hello, I am an ideological critic of Dr. but have a lot of respect for the man, his achievement. However, I want him to tell us again the difference between the confederation and federation and how it affects microeconomics of the state and local development of the people. Maybe after Nick, you will take on that. I will remind you again on that after Nick react on. Hello, good afternoon to you, to all the panelists, and special greetings to you, Dr. Nick. Western education has nothing to do with the problems in Africa. Kwame Nkrumah was trained by the West, yet he channeled the independence of Ghana. African leaders need to start working for their interests of their people and not for the interest of the West. How can you open an engineering school in Cameroon, and when it comes to road construction, you employ foreigners to build roads? When a leader is sick, he goes abroad for treatment while preaching every day to his citizens on how to improve the health sector of the country, and so on, just to show how hypocritical our leaders are. This one is, Collins will disagree with the caller to a certain extent, because they left us since, and we have the right as a country to decide if we want to develop. So those barons who steal state money are they the West? Our roads, which are bad enough, which are bad, should be repaired by the West. Our roads which are bad enough should be repaired by the West. I think the truth, as we Africans are wicked and only think of ourselves and family. The problem with Africa are Africans and not colonialists. This one right says, a good day to you all, our listeners and the panelists. Doctor, I am so impressed with your intervention. With your intervention, the studio, you may not like it, but do you think that if you could stand as city mayor of Bamenda, you will bring something for the but don't you think that if you were to stand as city mayor of Bamenda, you could bring in something for the younger generation to learn? Or why not Mayor from Kambe Ondu? Maybe you want only to do things for you alone and family. Thank you. I am and blessed day to you all in the studio. Desmond, this is Godin writing from Bamenda. Then he ended the message by saying, Doctor, sorry. Nick, when our leaders are, let me come now to this question. This person actually set the groundwork. We have budget session. The health sector budget have been defended. Hospitals have been projected to be built. Money is disbursed. When our leaders are sick, they are flown to Paris, to Washington, to Switzerland, to Lisbon for medical care. We have educational sector, higher educational sector. Like Dr. Nick is a promoter of higher education. He's doing a great job in that regard. And when it comes to sending our kids to school, most of our leaders will not choose to send their kids to schools where Dr. Nick is promoting education or the government schools. Their kids will have to be educated in Harvard, Manchester, Switzerland. But we defend budget every day. When it comes to shopping, our leaders, we have the small and medium-sized enterprise. We will not have to shop in our cities, in our towns. They'll have to go to Italy, Canada, Paris. So we still blame the West. Looking at this, who are we fooling?
Ourselves, of course. We're fooling ourselves. Of course, yeah. As Dr. Ne was saying, the issue of leadership is about care. Because you are not leaders over animals. Even when you are a leader over animals, you still have to care for them. Because those animals hold financial potential in them. Because if you don't care for them and they die, you will lose that money. Talk less of human beings. That is a sum of all creation. When you are a leader, it's just many Cameroonians, many Africans have not understood the concept of political leadership. Political leadership and political power is next after God. So when they give you the privilege of taking care of human beings and you mess up the whole situation, you're putting yourself in a kind of eternal danger. That is what many of our African leaders don't do or don't care about. Because the reason why they go to the West and whatever for their medical help, because they know that the medical systems that are put in place are not working. They know that if they go there, something may go wrong. They may operate them and forget a knife in their stomach and so on.
Budget now.
Yeah, the many of that budget ends up doesn't even go into the system. It ends up in their private pocket. So they know very well that the system is not working. If it were a system where, as minister of health, or all these ministers, they don't give them the privileges of going for medical care out of the country, the privileges of not riding in expensive cars, so that when they ride on our roads with normal cars, they will feel the shock. They will make sure that things will work, because all of them will have to pass there also. But the reason is because they have given the privilege to go out for medical care, so they don't care if the common man, if you care, you die, go whatever they give you, if you care, you go there and die. That's none of their business. Of course, that is not. In a more critical sense, we cannot even say we have leaders. We have rulers and not leaders. Because when you look at the concept of leadership, it is different. A leader is somebody who shows the way and follow the way. Not somebody who shows the way and allow others to go and is looking behind. That is what most of our leaders have been doing. They kind of point the way and tell you that that's the way and stay behind. That is what we have been suffering. Of course, we cannot just blame that this problem is in all of Africa. No. If you go to East Africa, for example, I've been following up the East African community for some time. If you go there, you see that they are doing a marvelous job there. You go to Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, all of those East African countries, the Southern African countries, they are doing great. We so much cry in Central Africa because it's as if Central Africa is so special. It's a kind of so special economic zone in Africa that they have special leaders there that don't want to leave power. They have their own way and so on. But other economic blocks are advancing. West Africa, they are advancing. The Maghrebian region, they are advancing. But us, we are just left behind. And our problem is first and foremost leadership, political leadership. That is our cancer that we have. And it has so much eaten into the system where we are afraid that even if we destroy the system, we may not even be able to build a credible system where things can be put right. You take Cameroon, for example, one of the main problems we have is the over-central. We have given all of
but now we are talking about accelerated decentralization now.
No, we are giving all of the power to the president. That's one of the main problems we have.
Presidentialist way.
Yes, a presidentialist system. Okay. You cannot tend to blame anybody there for that kind of system. That kind of system cannot enhance development. A system where everything lies in the hands of the presidency. Every major decision in the country, anything is tied to the presidency. The police, the gendarmerie, everything is tied to the presidency. Nobody can take decision on their own. They will kind of wait on the president to decide. That kind of system cannot work. And they kind of profit in this kind of system because this kind of system, there's no check and balance in this kind of system. Because some people tend to camouflage behind that kind of system and still there is no control and so on and so forth. That's the first step. If we want to talk of emergence, emergence cannot happen in Cameroon. It's not, for now it is still a slogan. It is not a mission statement. It is still a slogan. It cannot be effective. 2035 from now is less than 15 years. So, and when you talk of emergence, there has to be there has to be a foundation for that. You have to lay down the foundation from your economy, from education, from all the sectors to make sure that you are driving towards this emergence. If you study Cameroon, you see that we have never achieved anything. You go back to the Millennium Development Goal, we did not achieve them. You go back to, even now they are talking about Sustainable Development Goals. We are not still doing anything in that light. In fact, we're just like marking time, and while others are moving ahead, we're just marking time every day, and it is something that is pitiable. And we kind of call to the consciences of those who are managing us at the moment. I always say leadership has eternal perspective. You don't think that you steal money and think that you will die and have peace. You will never die and rest in peace. It is not possible. Okay. And it is not a best way to steal money and live for your children. Because when you steal money and live for your children, you have killed their potential. You have killed the potentials that God has put in them. Normal, every human being is created with potential. You're supposed to come and create your own impact in this way. But when they steal money and live to you, you just kind of embezzle the money. You see it the money because you never suffered to see how that wealth was created. And so it is not even a wise way to embezzle money. It is not wise. It is foolishness as a greed. Greed to a greater extent is foolishness. Because greed is just like you stealing something that you don't need. That's what most of our leaders are suffering from. As easy or as difficult as it sounds, but that's how it is. When you steal something that you don't need, it is madness in itself. Yeah, that's the kind of suffering we're suffering from.
Jeremiah from Southwest Tombes, please. After all this talk, will things change? The system has been built and corrupt. The point which only newly elected leaders can be trained and given the knowledge, because those on seats are already enjoying wealth and will not want to be disturbed. This right, he says, good afternoon, Mr. Jarvis and crew. Your program is quite interesting and educative to our generation. We actually need Dr. Nick's type in our economy set up to make this country take shape. Courage to you in the panel. This is from Elvis. This is Elvis Etenjong writing there. Thank you very much, Elvis. Dr. Nick Nkem, before you react to some of the messages that were sent tagging you, I want to ask you this question. I know you are a firm believer and you're a Christian of the Roman Catholic Church, and also someone that really believes in the respect of dignity of the human person.
Yeah.
Doctor, did God have a different time to create African leaders? Was there something different? Did God create the West separately, or what's wrong with Africa and Central Africa? I'm tempted to ask this question. Maybe you may forgive my ignorance on it, but was there a kind of way, special way God created leaders from the West, from the way He created us, especially those in Central Africa? I've gone to Kenya, I've gone to Tanzania, I've gone to Rwanda. When you look at this, you come, is it that God, I don't know.
It's just very unfortunate. That's why we're saying that the education in Africa needs to change. We've not understood the raison d'etre of many things, and when the people are in the leadership position and don't understand how things work, then they take their people down the wrong path, and then we keep spiraling. Another way you could ask, what would be the indicator to show that Africa is doing well? From the day that we stop eating Chinese and Thai and rice from Thailand would be an indicator that we are doing well. We stop importing fish, we stop importing toothpicks. When our children will stop dying in Libya, in Tunisia, in Morocco, in the Mediterranean Sea, and in Mexico, that will be the day, that will be an indicator that we are doing well. Those are the things to look out for. The day we start exporting finished goods will be a day to show that we have emerged as a people. So we still have a lot of problems, and if you are a leader in Africa and your children are going to die in the desert, you have failed. If you are eating Chinese rice in your country, it's a sign of failure. And interestingly, I just saw an advertisement somewhere that one of our parliamentarians was celebrating the fact that she's going to start importing Chinese rice. That was the most, or is it Thai rice? That was the most stupid thing to even think of. We should be, instead of her seeing what she can do for us to grow our rice in Cameroon, she's importing and celebrating it.
Rebranding it.
Yeah, that's terrible. So there are a couple of things that we need to do as a people. We have all agreed that from creation, we as black people, we have failed. But the most important thing is that we have accepted and realized that we are a failure, and that's the great success. When you accept that you failed, then you now ask, what next? What should I do? Why did I fail? How am I going to correct this, and so on? This is the moment when we are asking those questions, and we have to now actually correct ourselves and start going. The other African nations might not correct themselves, but I can promise you that Cameroon is going to correct herself and will continue to move, and Cameroon is going to be the light of Africa, because there are some basic things that are going to be corrected. I can tell you that it's going to happen. Whether you believe it or not, but just write it down somewhere. Know that the change of Africa is going to start. It started somewhere in Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, but when it starts in Cameroon, it's going to go at lightning speed, because it will not be kind of like trying to experiment. We will know what to do and what not to do. You do the right thing, you go up. You don't do the right thing, you are nailed. So it's not a question of blah blah blah. And we have to bring in this thing that there was this Nigerian president, war against indiscipline. Yeah, we're going to bring that in. Traffic rules have to be respected. Motorcycles have to respect the traffic rules. And there's this thing that every Thursday we close every place to clean our environment, but nothing happens, because when we close it, people are sitting and drinking.
Just close.
And then at midday, then we all go. See, when it's going to happen, Cameroon will change. That rubbish will stop. On Thursday, when it's cleaning, everybody, including ministers, you go down and clean your ministries. Everybody will clean. If you don't clean, you'll be nailed. It's going to happen. So this rubbish we have been doing is going to finish. We are going to start doing things properly. The diaspora is going to come back, and we are going to set the best example in Cameroon. That's what we've been calling the progressive CPDM. Don't think it's a joke. The progressive CPDM is going to correct all this rubbish that you are saying. And probably if you don't know what it is, another person asked something about the confederation and so on.
Yes, that you should actually state the difference between confederation and federation, and how your federation, your confederation is going to help the economy.
Correct. Before I get lost in that one, let me describe some three political concepts that we need to understand. Once we understand those three political concepts, it becomes very easy to follow up. I don't know whether, I think the other day we were talking and I asked you whether you knew what in political parlance, when they say right, center, and left, you remember?
Yes,
we had that
discussion. We had a discussion just outside the office.
That is very important. You know, the concept of right, center, and left, it was born from in France during when they had kings. This is what happened. So the king and his courtiers or his nchindas and so on will sit and then have a discussion about a topic. But you know, each time you have a discussion about a topic, not everybody agrees with you, or no. You know, there's always some discordance. And those that agreed with the position of the king would move and sit to the right side of the king. Those that did not agree with the king would sit to the left. So now, so that from that definition, each time it doesn't matter which government is in power, that government is conceived as being to the right.
Yeah, yes,
okay?
Already.
It's
right.
Yes. So every government in power is in the right. So if you go to America now, who are those in power?
The Democrats.
So the Democrats are on the right. Are you getting me? And the Republicans are now to the left. If tomorrow the Republicans come into power, they move to the right, and then the Democrats move to where? To the left. You see how it fluctuates. So there is a central position. If we bring that ideology to Cameroon, we will now say that the CPDM has been not even the right, but the extreme right, and the SDF was what? The extreme left. And then you would take people like MRC to be in the middle, so to speak. Then if you notice Cabral Libya and his people, they are closer to the CPDM. Those will be center right. And then you will notice that Ndamjoya was closer to the SDF, so he would be center left. Are you getting that? So in reality, this thing that we have 350 political parties in Cameroon is bullshit. We're not supposed to have more than 5 political parties. All the others. So why are we having so many political parties? It's because of greed. It's because of just this ego. I want to be called a president. We don't need more than 5 at most. And in reality, there should only be 3. You are either the right, the center, or the left, period. And that's what the progressive CPDM is all about. The progressive CPDM is a mindset change where people are going to, where the CPDM and its mechanism is going to move a little bit in its thinking and processes towards the center, and that is what is going to damage all those political parties and reset the political thinking and the way we do things in Cameroon. Now, what's confederation? What is federation? What is this story all about? Many years ago, those two words, confederation and federation, were used interchangeably, and they meant the same thing. It doesn't matter what you are saying. But in modern days, they were given specific definitions. So, and to best understand it, let me take a country like Kenya. I've been using Kenya for a long time, but I'll continue to use it because it makes sense. Kenya is a very big country, and I think there are about 46 million people there.
46 million.
And it becomes very difficult to manage a country like that. So, if the president and the Kenyans want to improve on their management, they will break up the Kenya as a whole into big chunks, socio-political, socio-economic, or some things that define those different sectors. You know, like if you come to Cameroon, you can see people in the north, people in the south, you know, that kind of thing. Some geopolitical zones. So you break them up like that for easy management. So when you take a big unit and break it up into medium-sized units, those medium-sized units, you call them federations. Is making some sense? So you go from a big unit and you break it up into some larger chunks, but not the small ones. Those large chunks, those are federations. So you break it. That's a federated. So you end up with a federated state. So, but what's the difference with a confederation? A confederation is a country like Cameroon where you could see 2 distinct people and 2 distinct states that came together to form one big mass.
With different cultures. With
different cultures. So it is West Cameroon that came. It is East Cameroon that came. You understand? To form Cameroon. You use the best term to use is confederation. It's a confederation. You get the difference. So a mass is formed by two two states coming, but while the other ones is one big mass breaking up.
Breaking up.
Okay, I hope that's understandable. But the beauty about Federation of Confederation in Cameroon, for instance, the nation of Cameroon, for it to work best, will be broken to West Cameroon and East Cameroon. That's the first layer. So the federation in Cameroon is two-layer. It will be a two-layer federation because of our two natures. So first you break it into West Cameroon, East Cameroon. Then you take this thing that we are calling decentralization and apply it into East Cameroon and apply it into West Cameroon. So if you apply it into West Cameroon, then you divide it now to Northwest and Southwest region. And then, like I've been saying, okay, with the capital built, in number, and then with all these things. And for Cameroon to work well, we need to build 5 new cities. A city in Numba, a city in Alo, which is not far from Mayemen, a city in Ebebda, a city in Yaoundé. Of course, Yaoundé will be beefed up to this, we have to decongest Yaoundé.
Decongest, even Douala.
Yes, and a city in I have kept mentioning, what's the name again? Mbamayo. And then, so this is how you disintegrate it. And the beauty of these other cities, if you look at the cities that we have in Cameroon now, they're not beautiful. Do you know why? Because they started as villages.
Yes.
No, they started as villages with no planning. And it's just one big village just keeps enlarging. So our cities are just villages that have been enlarging. That's why there's nothing works. Streets are very tiny, you can't really say. So, but this time around, we would define proper cities. You go to a virgin place, you do the streets just like in Abuja, just like in New York. And so it's clean, neat, and nice. So when we begin to get a good structure, and then put in place better leadership and management and what have you, and run better economics, train our children better, and then just make everything new. It will be new again. That's the spirit of the progressive CPDM.
Doctor, it sounds so nice, eh?
Yeah.
We just hope that the
very theoretical.
It will work. This is all right. Dear House of Commons, good afternoon and great job. We have the technical college and higher institutions, but minimum requirement of infrastructures are lacking in Cameroon. Secondly, the contract award system is not credible. The political mechanism to allow daily operations is a kingdom. This is a reason why our economy has been in the drain for 50 years, which is the booming marketing board maize-cam, just these two. Cocoa and maize is still cash crop grown year in, year out by Cameroonians. Who sent this institution into receivership? It is not the white man. This all right. It says, let me come back again. House of Commons. Aijo used to have the 5-year development plan where particular sectors were given attention at a particular time. Today, nothing is happening. There's a mix-up of everything. I think President Biya should go back to what Aijo was doing. This will lead us somewhere than 2035 political slogan where nothing concrete is happening. Doctor, you get plenty sense. This is coming from Yusimbong Sulemanu in Chang. This one right, this country, greetings to you all. I want to thank you for organizing this program. I am called Emmanuel from Limbe. Please, you should use the word rulers, not leaders, okay? Cameroon need to change, and that change is the rulers. This country is, let me pick on this call before we go. Hello? Okay. This country is misled by rulers. How can one person control the armed force, the market price, tax, and also claim to be the ruler? It is. Thank you very much. Your message is gotten. Doctor, you are 100% right. If our leaders can hear from you, we will be so happy. Happy people like you feel with knowledge can't be given the opportunity. Thank you very much. This one right, say thank you very much, the Nicks in the studio, and it's a great program. I've learned a lot, and God bless you. This other one right, it says Dr. Ningwanyam, thank you very much. But you should be the president of Cameroon. If at all they will allow you be, this country will be an El Dorado based on your knowledge. This is coming from Mami Anning in Munya. This right, he says, thank you very much, nice program. We are the message are so much, and sorry if I'm unable to take your message. We didn't know 1 hour 30 minutes will come so soon. Nick, I know, yeah, the last one before we go.
Yeah, we can only say that we hope for a better future, a better Cameroon. We hope that this generation will pass and the generation coming will come and set the pace for a new and prosperous Cameroon, because it is evident that this current generation of leaders have failed, and we only pray and hope for a change of leadership, so that they can come and put the pace for new development, for a new hope, because what is killing Cameroon now is that the present leaders have rule us in such a way that we don't have hopes. Cameroonians don't have hope, and that's the worst thing that every leader can give his people. It's just the best thing you can give your people is hope for the future, hope for a better future. Thank you.
Have we too not feel? Why do we only blame the leaders? We too it's a collective responsibility now.
No, but the leaders are they are the ones who bear the responsibility.
Okay,
they have been given that power to take care of us. And
Fendi Bill writing from Facebook says African countries are hardly changed even in the next 30 years because of bad governance and wrong foundation laid upon sandy soil. A country can only change if perfect structures are put in place to guide and implement them with strict discipline. We have leadership who don't care about the interest of the country but their personal interest. Greed, overzealousness, tribalism, embezzlement, and many more. I for one, I don't see Cameroon moving any further. All we need is a change of mentality and not personality. It's all like putting fresh wine into old wines, old calabash. Diplomacy can never change Africans. All we need is a leader with an iron fist. Anyone who steals or embezzles should be hanged, and all this and all his property seized. This Kobo right give money to parliamentarians to go back to their places and develop. When they reach there, first deceive them with beer and rice and meat. This one is a good morning. I think this one says good morning, House of Commons. Doctor, yes, you are right. Kobo right, yeah, truly what doctor is saying, he is 100% right. We're out of time, doctor. Thank you for coming there. Last one before we go.
Thank you very much. I just want to tell Cameroonians that you should have hope, because President Paul Biya is going to change a lot of things, and you would have noticed there's a new law that has changed a lot in the higher education because these problems were taken into account. And the secondary school, the secondary and primary school too, their own law will be coming soon to change